Welcome to this week's edition of Voices in Hyperspace. I'm Damian Smith, aka Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Mel Asylum, also Mel's Rebellion.
And Nita, surviving a hurricane in San Diego.
Yeah. So, Nita, so this is a week of extreme weather all across the country. Can you give us your what do they call it? Your eyewitness report?
This just in, coming in from San Diego, California, the first tropical storm to hit Southern California in 90 years. Actually, that is a fact.
Yes.
It's like 8 something years. And I guess now it's no longer a hurricane. It's on land. It's in Mexico. And I guess it has a passport because it's coming over to the US, going right through California, and it's supposed to keep going to Nevada as well, is what I saw on the map. It's just raining right now outside. But the news folks are saying to expect hail. We've even might have a tornado. It's going to be something very interesting outside. So I'm indoors where it's safe.
That's wild. So Hillary basically took a trip to Cancun on her way back to Vegas, and she's making it everybody's problem. Got it.
She had 2 margaritas for sure.
And then here in the Midwest, we are experiencing a heat wave. At the time of this recording, it is 6:09 p.m. and it is 96 degrees with a heat index of 117. So bring in your animals. Make sure you check on your loved ones who might not have modern appliances and accommodations. Get the box fans, the window units, air conditioning, all that stuff. Move people. Get them out of them 100-year-old houses and move them somewhere. Put them where they can be cool, because the heat kills.
Yeah. Them people with chicken coops outside, they're going to go outside and have some rotisserie chicken. You better go on your animals.
Okay, so this week we are talking about episode 6 of season 1 of Babylon 5. This is entitled Mind War. And before I start talking, because I got a lot of notes, I want to know, what are y'all's initial impressions of this episode?
I felt like this was a very scary kind of episode, because just like thinking about explorers in general, like the best explorers are never satisfied with what they find. And a lot of the cool accommodations that we're experiencing today is because people explored and they experimented and they pushed the limits to see how far we could go. And to know that people, to be reminded, I would say, that people would use an advancement for malice, it's really scary. Yeah.
So I'll wait to give my initial thoughts when Mel gets back. But
I'm back.
Oh, there. Okay. So,
Okay.
You know what? You go ahead first, and then I'll share mine.
Okay. So, as usual, a lot of metaphors for the theme of the show, which pretty much was advancement and the different ways people can use it. Its advancement can be scary if you use it in the wrong way. It depends on who's got it and what's on their minds.
I said pun intended.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, even with the science fiction one, well, both of it science fiction, but the physical and the mental advancements that was being made, and also just not understanding what's out there or even what's right beside you.
Yeah.
They played with that too.
Or what's standing right in front of you. We'll talk about that
and
in
they
just
were
a
very,
moment.
very poetic about it this time.
Yeah.
Usually they are. So,
the theme that came across, because Nita did point to advancement, the theme seemed to be advancement, but at what cost, right? Mm-hmm. And so the Psi Corps they they burst on the scene. First of all, we get introduced to Bester, who is going to be one of the most interesting characters in the show. We already met a whole bunch of like some heavy personalities, and Bester comes in just man already showing his weight. So that's Walter Koenig from Star Trek, the original series. He played Lieutenant Commander Chekhov, and he does an amazing. Like, first of all, this actor, he has incredible range. He loves Star Trek. He absolutely loves Star Trek, so much so that he will. He has from time to time starred in independent or fan made films as his character. But what he does with Babylon 5 is mold. You can't even like you can recognize him, you see who he is, but the character Bester is a menace. He is an absolute menace, and Walter Koenig basically every scene you see him constructing something that is great, and I can't sing his accolades enough. He deserves awards for this character. You two were just introduced to him, and let me ask you, what impression did you get of Bester and the Psi Corps, just from the way that they are presented in this episode?
I'm very skeptical of Psi Corps. Bester was very small but big, and
Right? Yes.
I forgot how short he was when, it's just him, the camera's focused on him and he's talking. It's like, yo, this man, he got big one. And then you pan out and he's next to this woman barely coming up to her belly button. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so the Psi Corps are kind of a proxy for space Nazis in this episode, in this series. They are they have the all black. Like Talia kind of throws that off, right? She comes across with like the power business suit, the business pantsuit. I think they cast a blonde woman on purpose just to kind of like throw you for a loop. Like, yeah, she's a telepath, but she's attractive, and we're going to present her in mostly a sympathetic way, right? And then here comes these two very dark, brooding telepaths, and they're like, we're more powerful than you. We get to do whatever we want. They're space Nazis, and the title of the show of the episode is appropriate: the Mind War. And you don't have to really know too much about what's going on, other than these Nazi people are mind police, and Sinclair immediately deals with Bester accordingly. He's like, get out of my mind, use your mouth and talk, because there are rules about telepathy, right? But but overall, like, my impression is, if we're gonna keep with the Nazi theme, it's eugenics. They genetically enhanced a telepath, and they were trying to modify his powers. Now, I can't help but to notice that the person that they experimented on was a black man. Like, there's a lot of visuals that stand out. Like, they're shouting at me. They do these eugenics. First of all, like, the Psi Corps practices eugenics. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil that. The Psi Corps practices eugenics. That's what they do. They try to make more telepaths. So they mate telepaths with other telepaths so they can make more and stronger telepaths. That's what they do. They're Nazis. Then they experimented on this one to enhance his powers. And what I couldn't help but notice is throughout the show, Jason, he is trying his best. He is a black man that is struggling to withhold his power. And that is a visual. If I wrote this down, I know this is not intentional for the show, But since the 90s, this is something that's become more talked about, how black people, and I will say in my case as a black male, I find myself like diminishing myself for the sake of being perceived as less dangerous. And it is a struggle because it's like, I don't know what people think is dangerous, you know. I had to stop that because it hurts me and it does no one any good. And it's just like, I just have to be me. And if you think I'm dangerous, that's your problem. But that is something that came through very strong in this episode. I don't think it was intentional, but the visuals, the optics are still there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, because I'm about to go too far. Go ahead.
No, go. Hey, go all the way. Go all the way.
We in hyperspace. Okay.
Yeah.
But the scene where they're trying to walk him to the ship, and he's struggling, and they're just waltzing down the hall. It's like, y'all can't help him, but like it makes sense according to the story. Like, he doesn't want to hurt them, and what's happening to him would hurt them. But you still get to see him like just acting his ass off, struggling down the hall, and they're just like waltzing. Like, she's not even like sad or concerned or anything. She's just waltzing down the hall. Like,
let's go on a stroll. But I mean, the visuals there, right? You have the center, the black character who's at the center of this, and he's struggling, and all the white characters are just taking it easy. I know it's unintentional, but the optics are there.
It's hard to ignore. And I was just like, well, of course, it's a white woman. But but I was, when he said something about the carotid artery, is that how you pronounce it? I know it's not.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, yo, I wonder if, like, what would it look like to disassemble a human? And then later we get to see.
You get to see that, yes.
Like, I was like, yes, they did it. And to see him like transform, he's like, I'm becoming, and lady was like, becoming what? And it's just becoming, like, I am, you know, like the whole God, I am, and then I think, therefore I am, and the universe, and then it's just everything is connected, and he became everything because he became. I just thought that was really,
He was. I mean, again, I don't know. I don't think J. Michael Straczynski was intentional in this because I don't think he has very much. I don't think he's made much commentary in the way of like Pan-Africanism or black radical thought or anything like that, but he turned this black man into a god by the end of this episode. And I'm just like, yo, brother, like who you been reading?
I was talking to a friend who is not, she's anti-religion, and we were talking about God and things, and then I said, well, the black man is God. Everybody knows that. And then a black man that we know just happened to show up to the coffee shop, and I was like, look, God, won't he do it? Coming through. But I was definitely excited to see him transform, and but a little bit taken aback by the image. Did you guys happen to notice the humanoid image in all of that light?
Yeah.
It was very Eurocentric.
Yes. And all I'll say is, well, you know, it was quote unquote featureless, but those features were like, for the most part, as you said, Eurocentric features.
It changed
because he was like bald and stuff.
Very buff, yeah.
But also, as much as we talk about how certain, like after a while, you kind of ignored the CG. That one special effect just didn't hold up at all. I'm pretty sure that there are more that will, be examples in the show, but that one, I'm like, oh man, I wish we could go back and enhance that somehow, because it just didn't work. It doesn't work in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So, Catherine's still around.
Yeah.
Sinclair's love interest, she's still hanging around the station, which I forgot that this happened. So I was surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, she does hang around for a couple episodes. And then she immediately does what Sinclair does, and she puts herself in clear danger. Even though Jakar warns her, don't go, I think it was Sigma 579. He's like, don't go to Sigma 579. She's like, well, why not? And he explains like,
And
things happen out there. You don't want to go out there. Like it's like you out. Just think anywhere. Black people warn you, like, don't go out there. Weird things going out there. People see things, and you know what other black people do? Like, oh well, shoot, I'm not gonna go out there. Of course, you have some non-black people like, I want to see it.
Yeah, when you saying that, I was thinking like a child, like, don't touch that, don't go over there, because this might happen. And some of them just got to go. They're curious.
Yep.
And obviously she's curious as a surveyor. It's her job to explore stuff. Her job is to be curious. But she was determined.
I mean, yeah, she was determined.
And she was about to die. I was getting real frustrated. So with the 10% power that was left in her vehicle, she couldn't do anything. And then I'm, well, like, what's the point of recognizing that you got 10% power if you couldn't do anything with it? Like, just shut off self-destruct or something.
just end it all early.
Yeah, like 10% left. I'm gonna let you burn up as you fall down to the surface. You're not even gonna know what it feels like to crash, because you're gonna be dead by then. You're gonna be like them chickens outside where Damian is now.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about Sigma 579 and how early they introduce what she saw.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more importantly, the previous episode, we got to see a lot more of Jakar. And then this episode, we get to see a very different side of Jakar. He even goes out of his way to say, look, everyone in this station, no one on this station is what they seem or what they appear. You have to understand that. And I'm like, that's a good point. That's a very good point about this show. Like, Jakar, the first couple of episodes, he's clearly a villain. He's kind of like, he's kind of like if he had hair, he'd be a mustache twirling villain. Londo Mollari is clearly a corrupt, power-hungry politician. But you get to see that each of them have nuance. They have spectrums with them, but they play their positions because of the power that they represent.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Delin. We don't know at the moment. We don't know much about her other than she's lying to everybody. So, yeah.
And often in this show, sometimes people lie for the right reasons. So
Yeah.
we don't know why she's lying.
I think she may have good intentions. Jakar, I was like not really feeling sympathy for him. I think, was it the last episode?
Yeah,
But
the last episode.
he just and then this episode, I'm just like, what are you helping her for? It's not because you care about her life. You got something, you trying to cash in on a favor later is what I feel like.
he kind of admits that too at the end of the episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, what is he say? He says something to the effect of like, well, you're Sinclair's significant other, and keeping you safe turns out to be a good thing for me, maybe. But I don't know.
Right. He also said there's no profit in you dying.
Yeah.
I didn't
Before he said, huh?
I didn't catch that. There's no profit in you dying.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a kind of cold reason to kill someone.
That translates to current life. Like, there's no profit in us dying. So
we need you to live so you can keep working. You have to also think about it like this. He used resources to send those ships out to save her, and that can't be cheap. That can't be like, oh well, we run these. Well, we know for a fact in this universe that everything costs money, so sending those ships out to go save her cost I don't know, millions of credits or whatever. And so there, that's an investment. He does have a stake in keeping her alive. And I will say this, I'm sure that Jakar will have many more exploits waiting for us in the future. And we're just learning bits and pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to, go ahead.
I was going to say, when the telepath went to Sinclair and was like, I know I'm asking you to put your life in danger. It's like, that's his favorite thing to do. Is his favorite pastime.
That his heart rate went, put my life in danger. I'll do it. Sign me up.
He was disappointed in the last episode that he couldn't get to put his life in danger.
Oh, God. He's trying to end it in a noble manner.
Yeah. He's trying to be Klingon.
Oh, yeah, with honor. There were a couple of things that I noticed. When the Psi Corps first came to the station, they present this really cool badge with this holographic animation. It's very different from the pilot episode where they had this video screen. It was like basically like a business card with like this awesome After Effects intro showing the Psi Corps logo, which while the Psi Corps logo looks cool, I can't help but to see a swastika, which that's probably why it looks that way. It has to be. It has to be. And then to connect the Psi Corps to Nazis even more is when Jason says like the Psi Corps is all about control. They control the telepaths. They control the economy. I'm like, holy crap, that's a big jump. Like controlling the telepaths, in your division to being like, yeah, we also control the economy. Like, wow. Okay.
And then take it further, we control the energy.
Yes.
That is.
Yep.
And like I could take apart your atoms and rearrange them. I was like, into what? Like, could you turn him into a table? Would it be functioning? I was curious, but go ahead.
I mean, they only wanted this character for one episode, but I'd be interested. He kind of like, to tell the truth, I don't know if any of you know much about comics. He reminds me of like Silver Surfer.
Oh, yeah.
He gets these cosmic powers and he can do almost anything with them.
But he's still a prisoner, basically.
Yeah.
Wait.
What? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I had to look up Silver Surfer. That's what the dude, like when he became, that's what I'm feeling like he looked like. Looking at him right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
He kind of looked like the Silver Surfer just floating up there. When Psi Corps arrived on the station, Bester, he's talking about how basically the way that he's talking about Jason is he's dehumanizing him. He talks about he's talking about how he has value, he has information that can harm Earth Force and the core and the Psi Corps. And then he goes
Mm-hmm.
on to say like he's a valuable commodity.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically livestock. He's a resource. He's not a person, but he is a resource. And they talk about the research that went into creating him. It again, optics, right? This reminds me of like the various medical experiments done on black and brown people in the early
Mm-hmm.
1900s, from what they were doing to women to discover, quote unquote, discover, practice, and create gynecology. They were basically mutilating black women.
Yeah.
What they did with the Tuskegee experiments and the
Yeah.
massive sterilization programs in
Mm.
black and brown communities. You know, this is all eugenics.
Yeah. I think when you said that, it reminded me of when I watched this as a kid. That's when my dad was first telling me about the Tuskegee experiment. It just triggered. I mean, I always remembered it, but I didn't remember that it was this show that we were watching, which is why he told me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You said you were 11?
I was maybe 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show came out when I was 8, so 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there.
I was gonna say, like, you were naming the different things, and I went on a hunt for information some years ago and learned about like what, I don't know if it was the Koreans doing it or if it happened to the Koreans. Something about like knowing how our bodies react to extreme weather, and cold was one of them, and they would put the person outside to see how
Hmm.
long they would survive in the cold. And a book, I forget what it was called. I read a lot of books, and they were explaining like the horrible things that have happened to people that we benefit from. So like
Yeah.
the Tuskegee experiment sucked, but but all the
But
things that was learned from it, and it's like, gosh, could we have known about this some other humane way? Like, why we
Yeah.
gotta be weird about learning things? And it made me feel a little uncomfortable about enjoying like our advancements, knowing how we got here.
And that comes up a lot during like body positivity, that why we know how many calories a person needs in order to run their body, or starvation experiments done on Jews. We know about the nutrition that we need based on them starving indigenous children. Like they would take them from their homes and put them in these schools and just play with their food, and watch them starve and watch the results of it. But we
there's
benefit from it now. But yeah,
there's a
it's
lot of Nazi science in there too,
yeah.
with all of that. And what's horrible, on top of the horrors we already went over, is they did a lot of experiments just to see what would happen. There was no like, we are
Hmm.
doing this to learn this about humans. It was just like, well, let's just see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and then they found out. And also, I think it was the electrical current in people. They learned how much electrical current people can um, sustain from experimenting with autistic children, because they used electric therapy on them in order to try to change them, fix them, so-called fix them. They just tortured them.
Yeah, like the scientific advances that we are making today, like a lot of it comes from, like, right now people are thinking more and more about ethics, but not even 100 years ago it was like there was no ethics. The people, they didn't even consider the subjects they were experimenting on as human or
Mm.
fully human. And it was just like, oh, well, they don't feel pain, or oh, they don't have souls, and so we can do whatever we want to them. And now we're in a place where we are considering treating people better, quote unquote, But now it's like, what was the cost? The cost was humanity, and and perhaps, I don't know, but I think I do. You don't have to sacrifice your humanity for scientific advancement. So just some things to think about. And I think that's one of the central questions like this episode is telling us to consider is like, do you have to sacrifice your humanity to figure out what's out there, what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Or like risk your life just,
Right.
to satisfy curiosity. I love ants. I have a treaty with them, and I don't like them on me, but the way that ants operate is so really fascinating. And when Jakar was explaining, like, this is an ant and I just picked it up, now I just put it down, and how would it describe what just happened to another ant? The ant doesn't give a damn. Like, the ant is just like, I'm gonna do me over here and get killed, And they function so well. The ants are well fed. All the ants are taken care of, and they're well organized. And curiosity does not curiosity without the point of surviving does not put. It's not a thing that the ants experience, as far as I understand ants. So
Right.
I really like that.
Most of what they do is based on instinct and not creativity or capitalism. Like, because clearly she's getting paid for it. How much do we know if she would still do this if she was getting paid, or how much she would risk if she wasn't getting paid?
A filthy amount of money, so we know that already.
Yeah, but if she wasn't getting paid for her job, would she still do it? If it was a anarchy type system, would she still do her job? Is it something that's just in her heart? Obviously, it's probably in her heart to do because she didn't care whether or not. Because a lot of greedy people will look at the cost of getting it and probably turn around. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I think she'd do it anyway, just because, like, you really putting a dollar amount on your life that you won't be with Sinclair because you be dead. Oh,
right.
what I wanted to say, or wanted to ask, or explore, that's the better word, is now that Homeboy became, and he's like, universe, is he
Sorry.
able
Keep going.
to interfere with all the things, like, now that he's, like, even though now he's over there, is he still here?
To create another parallel, it reminds me of Stargate with the ancients ascending, and especially like Daniel Jackson ascending. It's like, I can be here, I can do all this stuff, but is it ethical for me to do it? And then there's other characters, I guess, like the travelers. It's like, they could be helping, but they don't. They mind their own business. And the other Qs, we only got one Q that wants to bother us to death.
Right. That's a good question.
So the whole issue of Psi Corps, wanting to control everything, they advanced someone who is not who sees the harm in that. So now that this person has, like, reached the ultimate completeness of being, can it interfere with the malice of Psi Corps?
Yeah.
Well, he did. He did. He killed the researcher that basically was part of the program that created him. The only researcher that could replicate the process, he murdered him. Right. He knew better. He's like, we don't okay, what I am, we don't need any more of these. So off you go.
That's something that I wonder. It's like, okay, you killed him, but did you destroy his notes?
And like, even the injections, like, did you destroy the possibility of that combination ever happening again, because just how this dude stumbled across this sequence, someone else will eventually stumble across it, and then it might even be easier with these more advanced Psi Corps people who can do whatever the curse words and share notes and things. So I'm like, he did in that sense when before he evolved like to the infinite dimension, but I'm wondering if he can still continue to interfere without having to be present, like how he just zoomed away
Mhm.
from to wherever he went. Like, is he now everywhere and he knows all the things and can pinch all the carotid arteries?
So he runs off and says, "I'll see you in a million years," which
Mm-hmm.
thanks, bro.
Asshole. I'm gonna die for you. The fuck.
Right.
Right.
Right. I kind of felt like he's kind of in distress. Like he's going through a lot of changes. That's hard to do. He was already like freaking out before he even broke out. And he's been on the run. He's even though his brain can do so much more, he's still kind of a person, and he might be under too much stress to actually think of what the wise thing to do is. He's just feeling with his heart like, oh, I'm going to like possibly destroy a lot of people just by my existing. I can't control myself. Let me go see this girl I used to sleep with and say
Right.
bye. Like,
Let me go.
Old teenager in puberty. That's what happened.
Mhm.
yeah, he
All right,
ain't trying to help nobody.
all right, I gotta make a comment. Again, optics, visuals. It's always a blonde woman. And yeah. This you remember all of those 90s white savior movies? This again, I don't think it's intentional, but the visual is unavoidable. That's all I had to. Well, and then she goes
Yeah.
into detail talking about how telepaths make love, and
Mhm.
you know,
You go black, you don't go back is basically what she said.
she said it was an out of body experience.
Right? Okay.
The only time she didn't hear the other voices.
Mm-hmm.
So amazing.
I almost thought that's what he was doing when he gave her the last gift until they
Right.
Oh
showed her.
shit!
There's one last. Oh, yeah.
One
Especially the
last
way
gift.
she painted. Like,
Yep, she
One
definitely
for the
had an
road.
orgasm.
She
Something to,
passed out.
something to
Too
remember
good.
me by. Something to
Went
hold you
into
over
it.
for a million years. Sorry about that.
Yo. Hit it and quit it. That's what that was.
Did she? Never mind. I'm gonna stop.
Had her playing with pennies later. She
Mm-hmm.
knows. So
Phenomenal cosmic powers. Yep.
I find it
Um.
interesting that only humans have these psychic powers. Like, what is it about the human brain that none of the other species have psychics?
So in Babylon 5, most other species do have telepaths, but they only just talk about it. I think they're later, some episode down the road, there is another alien that is telepathic. Actually, there's like two or three, but there is one species that does not have any telepaths, and that is the Narn. The Narn. I'm not gonna tell the story now, but they used to have telepaths in their ancient past, but they don't anymore. And you'll hear Jakar talk about that coming up soon, I think, before the end of the season. But
and
there is an answer to the question. You just have to wait to the very end of the series.
The soul collectors, they were a little bit telepathic,
Yep.
little tiny bit.
Yeah. I know the Mimbari have telepaths, but I don't know. Are there any Mimbari telepath characters that appear?
I don't know.
It sucks because I'm asking you to remember 5 seasons of this.
And then there's like no telling how much of it I actually paid attention to, because a
Right.
lot of times he was watching the show while he was so called watching me and my sister. So we're playing around and stuff, and that's what's on. So there were little bits that I would watch, and my dad would either there were little bits that he would sit us down and make us watch because he wanted to give us a lecture on something.
Right. That's oh man, that's like the coolest way to give those lessons. Like, you know
Yeah.
this TV show that you like watching? Well, let me tell you about the real world, kid.
I mean, yeah, as an educator, I feel like that's the best way to use their environment. Technically, he was using his environment because this was a show he was watching. But like
Mm.
I kind of do that. Like I watch shows with my son that he watches, and later talk about it or talk about it then. And as a toddler, like letter sounds, colors, shapes. It wasn't like I'm going to go buy some flashcards and stick them in front of you. It was always something in the environment that had those things in it that he was already interacting with that I would just, elaborate.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
great. I kind of feel like so Mel, you and Nita, y'all both have very creative ways to approach educating children. I know Nita was she was talking about her what is it, your Zen garden project that you
Hmm.
were crafting and like
Oh.
your thought process and how to build that.
Yeah, those children needed an activity that would get them to calm down. They are just a really rowdy group of children, and it's like I've guided a class of like 20, 25 preschool children,
Oh
and it
no.
wasn't as ridiculous as guiding this class of 10 school age children, like elementary age, from
Mm,
first grade through fifth grade. Some of them were
mm.
going into sixth grade. I'm like, this is really insane.
Yeah.
But the Zen garden, like having the music playing in the background and the activity itself and talking about, relaxation and mindfulness, they were very quiet with each step. Once they finished this step, they were like, "Oh wait, I'm a rambunctious human being. Turn on obnoxious to level 3000." But then when they got the next step, it was all cool. When they got the sand, oh, it was just like peace. I said, I need to bring bigger boxes next time.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice. I'll be quiet.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, they always need something. They need something. You give them idle time and they take advantage.
Yep. So
Something they have to focus. Go ahead, team leader.
no, it was just a few things. So Catherine, we kind of skipped around on this part, but she finds herself out, stranded at Sigma 579, and then this giant, like impossibly large spaceship just goes by. It kind of reminds me, or it seems to have elements from encounters of the first kind, first encounters of the whatever third kind. That's what it was. I don't know. Whatever the name of that movie is. These glowing lights. It's huge. It ruins her ship. She's out there stranded. And the thing, like to me, if I had seen something like that, like okay, I've seen spaceships before, but this thing I've never seen before. I don't know if I would have had the wherewithal to try to like not crash the ship anymore. You know what I mean? But I guess she had time to think about it. She had like 2 hours to think. Also, I don't think I would have kept something like that to myself either, which we don't know if she did. She probably did say something. She spoke to Jakar about it. But I probably would run down some rabbit hole trying to figure out, like, has anyone else seen things like this?
Mm-hmm.
And Jakar's explanation, as far as like, there are things older in this universe that we have no idea what it is. And I'm like, what's the year? 2258. So in 200 years, humans have, they started settling in populating space and planets and stuff like that. That's 200 years. 200 years from now. And there are things that are billions of years older than anything else. Like, that would just freak me out. That's like that Lovecraftian horror, like the unspeakable horror that you don't know about, but it's just right there.
Yeah.
And she saw one, and the question is like, how much more? It reminds me of this. Oh man, I can't remember. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. It was a clip that someone shared, and it was basically people were asking like, well, how much of space are we able to observe? And the answer was like, well, how much of the ocean are we able to observe? Like, imagine the whole ocean. Imagine space is the ocean, and you go and grab a glass, and you take the water, you dip the glass in the ocean, and then you look at the water in the glass. That's how much we know. And I'm like, that's a scary thought, because we know the ocean is full of all kinds of life, but if you just grab a 8-ounce glass, you're not going to get too much in there. So there's like so much more out there to discover. Well, there's so much out there that we don't know. We don't even know if we are capable of discovering it, right? Because our perspective is so limited. But Jakar is like, it terrifies me, but it also, what is that? It gives me hope, because we don't know everything, and that's cool. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I want to know.
I thought it was really cool. Yeah, I thought it was really cool that he said that.
Yeah. Reminds you, like, there's a lot that's out there, but you can leave it alone. Like, that's an option.
Yeah.
It's an option until it's not. Right? It's an option until it's not. Until, a great white shark decides, like, hey, that looks delicious.
And that's a huge theme with a lot of older sci-fi, older than this. Whereas if there's other beings out there, they obviously want to control us and take over the planet. Right. Because why else would they be exploring? And there's no thought of, well, with all the possibility of all of the different creatures that could be out there, that there's a possibility that they're out there, why are they not just minding their own business? Which is pretty much like the point of the book that I've been working on. It's like, why can't we just imagine that they're on their planet doing their own thing? What?
Right.
Like, we are the ants to them. Imagine that. And like he was saying, how could we possibly communicate with the ants? So we're not even on, like, they don't care about what we're doing because we're so insignificant.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that also is kind of, I don't know if it's terrifying, but it's just like very difficult to comprehend. Like, we think that on Earth, we think that we are kind of like the top of the food chain. We are this, we're supposedly, so smart and this and that. And it's like, maybe we're not. I mean, on this planet, maybe we're not. Maybe there are some things that have different types of intelligence that we're not aware of in the ocean right?
You're right.
But like to imagine or to try to conceive of an intelligence that's so far beyond us that it wouldn't consider us intelligence, that's wild, right?
You're right. Yeah. Oh. It
Um,
also reminds me of the Nox from Stargate Atlantis. No, not Atlantis. Stargate SG-1. And there's another one, another species. Oh, the Vulcans. Like when they didn't come talk to us until we got to a certain level. It was like we just gonna know that they're there, right? And the
Yeah.
Nox are like calling the team of SG-1 like children, and like O'Neill's like, I just got out of retirement for this. How are you calling me a child? Like, and they're trying to protect the Nox the whole time, but it's like, and they're just like whatever, like because their knowledge was like so advanced that they didn't need to worry about the goal. They didn't care.
So by the end of this episode, we run into we have two conversations about the unbelievable events that happened. Jakar and Catherine, like, granted, no, that she's not put in a position that she has to be believed for what she saw. It's just wild. But with what happened with Psi Corps, Bester, Sinclair, and Garibaldi. Yeah, Garibaldi's in this episode, by the way, y'all. Does he get punched in his stomach or in his nuts by Talia?
I thought it was his stomach.
Yeah. Well, he got punched somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, his lewd thoughts leaked out, and she was just like, "No, nope, no." Everything that happened on the ship on the station, what in the report is unbelievable. And they're like, nobody's gonna believe this. And they're like, that's why we're gonna tell something that's close to the truth. You know, the idea, I guess, is to keep everyone, to protect everybody because the truth is just way too wild. But let's tell them something that's more mundane. But this is an instance where Sinclair is for the most part, he has the upper hand on Bester. But I kind of get a sense that Bester's like, sure, okay, you serve my purposes. I will follow your lead.
Because I think Bester gets into less trouble the way that Sinclair decided to twist things.
Yeah. Or the Corps has less attention on them because what do you think Earth Force and the rest of the population would feel or think when they find out, hey, Psi Corps has been trying to breed these super soldiers that have telekinesis and can assassinate you from a distance. I mean, that's what's that one? MK Ultra, basically.
Yeah.
Man, I did not put in my notes. That just
Oh.
okay.
Yeah, it was that's scary because the sky obviously they're trying to take over Earth.
Yeah.
And they have
Obviously.
really good methods of doing so apparently, and they just lost one of their biggest ones.
Yeah, because if the Psi Corps can turn telepaths, make them stronger, or turn them into telekinetics, then they have some very powerful weapons. I mean, I guess they mentioned that they do have a TK test when they graduate the Corps Academy or whatever, but I guess their telekinetics is underdeveloped. So Talia was struggling to move a penny across a table, which that's not very useful. But what Jason was able to do, he basically could create like a telekinetic shield around him, and his mind quakes were damaging the station, and it blew up that ship. That's power. That's like a weapon of mass destruction, which Jason was explaining, like everyone would want, and that's why they couldn't have any more of them.
But ironically, he gives her the power to have telekinesis. And granted, it's not that much, but
Right.
It's like I'm trying to keep I'm trying to keep them from having a stable telekinesis, and so I give you the power of a stable telekinesis, which is why I really feel like he's not trying. He's thinking more with he's not thinking with his mind.
And he's going to puberty. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure she's gonna have some creative things to do with that telekinesis. Anyway, so overall, how did y'all feel about this episode? Was this a good one? Was this a bad one? How does this rate with the past episodes so far?
I liked it. And my favorite part was when he tore that lady Adam from Adam. That was my favorite part. I definitely liked the previous episode better, but this was still great.
That was kind of a cool special effect too. He didn't like burn her. He didn't like mutilate her. She just fell apart and went away. She just was dust. She got dusted.
I found it very interesting, the metaphors that were used in the science of the storytelling. I like that. It was good. It wasn't. There were no like real big holes because they did actually. It's hard to have science holes in things when you're talking about things that we have no idea of, and
yeah.
But then sometimes when some sci-fis talk about things that we have no idea of, you can sit there and look at it, but it's this. But right. With this, they went so far that it's like, yeah, I can imagine not imagining what in the world is going on. They did a good job of that. So
yeah,
that was the point. Good job.
I thought this was a pretty strong episode. It felt more like a made-for-TV movie than any other episode. Like even the music supported it. It was very different. Like it was directed differently. The pacing was very rapid, and the story came across very quickly. They didn't have like 40 different threads open. They only had like 3. You got a little bit of everything, all of the alien characters, even though the telepaths were central. And then the overall story is like there are mysteries. There are good mysteries. There are bad mysteries. And there's something in human nature that wants to know more. Like, can we do this? Should we do this? And I think that's a good sci-fi story. Like, by the end of it, if you're asking some questions, like some serious existential questions, then I'm thinking like you probably wrote a successful sci-fi story. So I don't know. I think I agree with you, Nita. I think the last episode was better than this one, but this was a really strong entry. If for nothing, then how the story was put together. It was done very well. All right. Any final thoughts?
A million years, I guess.
I'll see you in a million years. And then off he goes. Like, first of all, bro, where are you going? Can you take some of us with you? Like, please. One of my final thoughts is this is our first appearance of like Bester. He shows up more, and you are going to have a very particular thought when you see his face on the screen the first time each episode. And I'm gonna leave it at that. He's a space.
Sorry, that's old Chekhov.
Yep. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah.
The second thought. Yeah. I can't see him without thinking Chekhov.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he gonna get the same vessel?
Oh no. I think he does in one of the episodes. But it's like, his speech patterns are so creepy. I don't like listening to him talk. Mm-hmm. Like he makes your skin crawl. That's how good he is at portraying this character.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't want to make it longer, but yeah, you can, if you see the original Star Trek and you see like him just being professional and like a young professional, and then just being creepy. You turn to him just being creepy and controlling. It's like I'm gonna throw around my power.
Like you
it's
can
a
you can
complete
see
contrast.
you can see the toxicity just oozing out of his skin. You're gonna love hating this character. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here. This is another episode of Voices in Hyperspace with Damian, aka Legendary Black Lion. You can find me at Legendary Black Lion on all social media. I guess we call it X now. Don't follow me there. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok.
I'm Mel Asylum. You can find me at Mel Asylum or Mel's Rebellion on what's it called? Well, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok especially. Come find me and find my books on Amazon.
I'm Nita, and I am Nita.
Nice. Thank y'all for joining us for this week, and we'll see y'all next time.